Let's get going. Hello, welcome to Bridges Live. I'm Dr. Paul Dyer, and we're going to be talking with Miss Sherri Warren about Mr. Keith Warren. And before we get into that, I want you guys to always meet the people I want to visit with. And I always bring on a couple of things. Every time I do a show, every time I do a podcast, wherever I do, it's just about community. It's about building an understanding. First, you have to understand something. You have to be informed about something. And then ultimately, I want you to take an action. If you don't take an action, just throw my podcast out because I'm not the person you should be listening to. Because if you're not going to listen to something and understand something, then you're going to miss something, and we are going to be missed in all the things that we could do, can do, and probably need to do. I would never use the word should because that's a choice. You're going to make a choice. But your choices are made of what? But before we get there, hi, Sherri. Thank you for coming on to Bridges Live with Dr. Paul. How you doing?
I am well. Thank you for having me and giving me opportunity to talk about my brother.
I know this is essentially the subject, but let's give people the information about what happened, and where we are.
The Cliff Note version is 1986. My 19-year-old Black male brother, teenager, was found strung up on a tree in Montgomery County, Maryland. And at the time, when it was just me and my mom and my brother. My mom had moved us up from North Carolina, so it was just us three in the state. So at the time of his death, she was a single Black female in Maryland, and initially we did not accept the police ruling. However, we did not have the means nor the information to challenge it. So what you have to just continue on anyway. Since 2009, up until my mom passed away, she was the face of this fight. Information has been slowly coming out. Information has been slowly released. Some of it involuntarily, some of it voluntarily, showing that my brother could not have put himself on that tree. Someone put himself on that tree.
So this is in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
So if people are listening to that, some people are probably not even born that's going to be listening to this. Some people have been born. I remember 86 very well because that's in my middle of my prime growing years, right? And you're still fighting this in 2022. Is that correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because here's the thing, and I'm going to go back to come forward. My ask of this situation is very simple. I can show Montgomery County Police Department, the state of Maryland, the state's attorney, the governor, the attorney general, how he did not do it. I can show you how he didn't. They cannot show me how he did. They, as the aforementioned. So then just meet me halfway, because my brother did not commit suicide. You will not put that lie on him, and you need to correct history. My mother, she spent the last 23 years of her life fighting just to give my brother a voice in his death, which the detective tried to silence. So let me throw a quick plug in here. If you go, there's a 3-part docuseries called Uprooted on Discovery Plus, and it's out now. And it came out February of this year, 2022, and it basically followed me for a year, well, like 8 months of my struggle with just trying to get acknowledged by the state of Maryland. And in the docuseries, you will see I have state officials, former attorney generals and state's attorneys coming forward saying this case should be reclassified. But then you have the chief of police on camera who looks ridiculous in his argument as to why he's not going to change it. So back to your question, I can't let it go because I know in my heart, again, I've said this I've met 3 different chiefs during this time since my mom passed away, because my mom had her way of doing it. Up until 2009, we did it her way. My mom thought because she was a Black female, she had to have a certain look, energy, not have the mouth.
She may not be wrong.
Well, it's okay.
It's tough. It's tough to, I'm in my, it doesn't, but it's almost classified, as media, is how do we talk to the angry Black woman? Right? So your mother had to say, well, I don't want to be the focus of this because it's about my son. So I don't want, so I could see maybe her strategy at the time, but That's not your strategy.
No, I'm not her. And at the time, I got out of her way. I
Yeah.
let her do her because that's how she wanted to do it.
Right.
But once she passed away, and she died unexpectedly. Like I took her to the hospital because she had a bad cold. 2 days later, she's dead. Georgetown can't even tell me where she died. She had 13 doctors working on her, and they can't tell me what killed her. But that's another conversation for my book. I digress. I said to God, we had a whole conversation. Like, this is not fair, and it's okay, because in my head I rationalized that her work here was done. She was tired because the week that she died, she was supposed to retire from her job she died on a Tuesday. She was due to officially retire on Friday. They were literally throwing her a surprise retirement party the day she died, and I couldn't. Everything was moving so fast, I didn't have a chance to call her work and tell her boss. So anyway, so I said in my head, God's saying to me that, or universe, whatever you want to believe, that her work here was done. So now you need to figure it out. And so now I said to her, respectfully at her, because I have them buried right next to each other in our family cemetery. Respectfully, we did it your way. Now we're doing it mine. All gloves are off. Fuck them. And I said it. I said it in Montgomery County. I said it in the docuseries. I don't give a fuck. The motherfuckers lose sleep all night. Now it's my turn. And the internet is free. See, back then we didn't have the internet. We didn't have the web. And the lies, deception, the corruption was able to hide behind this view that they didn't want you to see. But now that I have this, I'm going to expose them, because I can show you in their documentation that they gave to me, which took me a year and a half to get, which should not have, but that's another conversation, that the detective created the narrative that he wanted us to believe, and was not challenged. And this is not just something isolated with Keith's case. I believe this detective is corrupt, and I believe that the county doesn't want to get involved, because if they go back and reverse Keith's case, they're gonna have to go back and look at a whole bunch of other stuff. That's not my issue. That's not my problem. You should have fixed the problem when you had an opportunity. But I digress. I believe that in the long run, I'm going to get what I want, which is, I've never asked him for money. I don't even want an investigation. You can't investigate an investigation with no evidence. The detective destroyed every piece of physical information and or evidence that an unbiased person could go back and look look at and determine about how Keith got on this tree.
So for the public's sake, this is so disturbing, because this isn't the first story that this has been told. This is your story, but we have so many in the Black American history that this story has been repeatedly done over and over to our community. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely, because with the release of the docuseries, with the release of, because I'm going to openly admit this for the first time on your show, I troll the internet. So I will Google my brother's name, and I will Google my name and my mom, and I'll find out what information is out there. And if I find any incorrect information, I'm going to correct it. So I've had people find me with stories like mine, asking what can they do? How do they start? Where do they go? So, and it's sad, because you have these national organizations, I'm not going to mention them by name, but that are supposed to be put into place to help assist you in your said journey. And can I tell you, you name the organization, you name the national person with the face is supposed to be the face of our fight, and I've talked to some of them directly, and I can't even get a return phone call.
So I have called them out. I have called all those organizations that say they're for us, right? Or the national this for us. And they're like the whisper in the wind when we call upon them. And
they're tone deaf.
And since I feel like we've been bamboozled. I feel like we put so much energy going, oh, look at these people, they're for us. And if they're for us and they're sitting in those, quote, legislative rooms, caucuses rooms, all these places that if we needed help, we were supposed to be able to go through them. And when we go through them, we get burned. So it's like not only does the opposite leaves us out, but our own people that's supposed to be helping us don't acknowledge us because we're still talking about and saying the same thing for the last 60 years.
Mm-hmm. It's I can only speak specifically for my situation in my case. So let me just state that. Let me just put my disclaimer out there with that one. So let me just say, with specifically speaking about Keith's case, the chief of police who's now in position, Chief Jones, has been on the force for 35 years. He's also a brother. Keith's case is 36 years old. So that shit, I'm just letting everybody do the math in your head. Think about what I'm saying. And he sat in a meeting with me and said to me, I said to him, I can show you the last meeting. They stopped talking to me after a while. That's a conversation. I can show you physically, medically, and factually how he didn't do it. Show me today. Man, I'm looking at him like I'm looking at you, how he did it medically, factually, scientifically. He two-step tap danced around it and did not give me a direct answer. Right? But will stand on and die on that hill that my brother put himself on this tree. And as I explained to him, the pictures alone, and they're not safe for work. So let me just say that for your audience. If you do Google Keith Warren pictures, I did not put them up there. They're online. You will see that they are pictures of Keith on the tree. The pictures were, Montgomery County Police Department has admitted that they are their photos. They just don't know how we got them. The person that gave the photos, which we don't know who did, was doing us a favor. They weren't trying to hurt us. They were trying to help us, because in the photos, he is strung up. He's not hanging down. That's number one. Number two is the rope is caught up around his collar. Like it's in the collar of his shirt. The clothing he has on the tree is not the clothing he left the house in. So it's a lot going on with my brother's case. And I tell you, our employee audience, you can go to, I have a website, the KeithWarrenJusticeSite.com. It's just like it's spelled, the KeithWarrenJusticeSite.com. I maintain that. That's me. I have his Facebook page, Keith W. Warren. And I put information out. And now this year, actually about 2 months ago, I hit another, I guess the word I want to use is precipice in this situation. I said, I'm just going to start putting out documents. I said, fuck it. It is what it is. So now I'm doing videos. Because at one point I didn't even want to do, I had people trying to convince me to do videos. And I was like, yeah, no, because I don't want to be, that's just not what I do. I can talk, but then I realized getting the visuals out, because funny story, the way the docuseries came about from Discovery Plus, I was trolling one of these websites that is sitcoms.com. And back in the 90s, Unsolved Mysteries did they covered my brother's case. So on this one particular message board, there's a thread about Keith. And I was like, let me go on this message board. I go on, it's like 15 pages. I was like, now I got time, especially when it comes to my family, I'm gonna find time. I read through all the messages. And I found a lot of misinformation, right? There's this one particular person who was on there. Let me finish. He was on there giving his opinion. I swear, I think he worked for Montgomery County, about the case and how Keith did it. So I started going back at him. So I almost got kicked off the board, because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to argue with an ignorant individual. I'm just going to keep hitting you with facts. The fact is you're incorrect, right? So one of the direct news directors from Now This News saw the exchange and said he had to meet me. And that was in 2014. And so I met with him, and we started talking about, he put together a docuseries. Now This News is an online news agency. It's very popular. If you Google it, they got a couple of sites, couple of pages across all platforms. And so from 2014 until 2020, he was pitching my brother's story to Netflix, to Hulu, to you name it, streaming service, HBO, Stars. Nobody wanted to touch it, right? As soon as George Floyd hit, his phone started ringing. And that's when Discovery Plus came about, and we eventually pulled it together, and that's how the docuseries came about.
So here's the sad thing. We know that the media is ran by white men.
Mm-hmm.
We know that the airways are controlled by predominantly white men. Media has been blocking our consciousness of our uprising for a very long time. What is the reason that you can think of that the media does not want the truth?
I don't know if they don't. Well, okay. I'm gonna put my disclaimer. Speaking specifically for the Keith Warren case,
Right, right.
I can speak about the local media here in the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. Montgomery County has a lot of money.
Yes.
And I
one
believe
of the richest counties in Maryland, and Maryland is one of the richest states in the United States.
Right. And I believe that local news agencies don't want to touch this story like they should, because they don't want to get blocked out by the police. They don't want to get blackballed or shut out of conversations and whatever's, right? I've had the conversation had to me, I'm not going to mention his name, but when we were talking about pitching the story, pitching the docuseries during the press junket, they said the Washington Post wanted to talk to the Washington Post. Now, there's this one person, and if you're smart and you know how to use Google, you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention his name, so I'm not going to give him no type of platform here, but he's been covering the county for 25 years. And when the publicist for Discovery Plus for the Uprooted, which is named the docuseries Uprooted, said to me, well, we're going to get you an interview with Washington Post. This person we want you to talk to him. I said, he's not going to run it though. And so they said, why wouldn't he run? I said, because he's not going to run it. He's been in the county. He's been covering the county for 25 plus years. He has friends. I know he's not going to run it. Long story short, I talked to him for an hour and 15 minutes after we got off our call. I said, he's not going to run it. And I bet the publisher, she's like, no, he said he's going to, and I got the whole email. After talking to this man for an hour and a half, after having a whole docuseries being done where millions of dollars have been spent to produce this docuseries, right?
Right. This
man comes back and says, oh, I think I'm not going to run it because there's really nothing new here. I told you he wasn't going to run it, but it's okay. And here's the thing. I have learned in 2009, I was mad and angry. Right. Okay. Right. And from 2009 to 2011, I was really sitting in my grief and my frustration and my irritation. From 2011 to probably 2013, I realized that's not making me any money, and that's not getting me any closer to where my goals need to be. So I said, you need to switch this around and change this energy up and focus this energy on something to the betterment of getting Keith's story told. And if I've done nothing else in this day and age, that docuseries and that website with that information is going to live on beyond years. And it's going to continue to expose the lies and the deceit that's going on in Montgomery County in direct connection to Keith Warren. I've said this aloud, and I'm going to continue to say this, and I've been told not to say this, but I don't care anymore. The justice system in Montgomery County is not a just system for my family nor my brother. Because what you've done and shown me over the last 36 years is that you don't want the truth out. You don't want to know what happened and why a Black man was strung up on a tree, and nobody's mad about it in Montgomery County but one person, and his name was Hans Reamer. That's the only person on the county level that has a problem with the fact that you have a Black man strung up on a tree and nobody's talking about it.
Now, again, I want people to hear this, because wherever you hear this, Montgomery County, Maryland. Montgomery County, Maryland. Maryland is the richest state in the United States, and Montgomery County is the richest county in Maryland. And it's ran by developers. It's ran by still white men. The justice system, the judicial system is still very much prejudiced. They have certain people who are judges sitting on there. There's a long extended lifespan of Montgomery County and its nastiness. And this is one of these things. Let me ask you this. Are you still mourning your brother?
every day.
Do you if we'll get to where do you want this to go, but do you think you'll ever stop mourning your brother?
No. Here's the thing. I've come to the realization that there are certain things I cannot control that are out of my control, right? When Keith died, my mom put me in therapy and I fought like a chicken. I did not want to go, but I'm so happy she put me, and I'm so happy I still go. And I've come to a place where I mourn him, but I also use that energy to help others, because I've been told that, I'm an inspiration. I am, I've motivated people to continue, because at the end of the day, what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. I've had some people say to me, which was weird, because again, you made a point early in this call. People have options and choose what they want to choose in life. I've had people tell me, well, she's not living, or she's going to end up like her mother. Well, first of all, I'm very well alive and I have a very vibrant life. Y'all just don't understand, but I just choose. This is my hobby. Like, I wake up every morning, like, for my personality, how do I fuck with Montgomery County? That's what I sit at my desk, I talk to my mother, I make tea for my mom, and I say, well, how are we fucking with them today? Because I know they pissed off about me and my mouth. And it's okay. And I've always said, if I come up missing, y'all motherfuckers better find me and burn some shit down if I come up missing. But I digress. I don't live in Montgomery County, by the way. But I feel like I have a purpose, and that purpose is that I have to at least get to a place where the lie is off of my brother, and my mother's journey, her fight was not in vain, because all she wanted was accountability. All she wanted was somebody to acknowledge her pain. You have a Black woman who lost her only son, and all she asked the system to do was tell her how her son got hung up on a tree. That's all she asked. But you got the detective cutting trees down. You have detective sent Keith's body to the funeral home of his choice, not of ours. He released Keith's body to the funeral home at the scene, and then ordered no autopsy. I'm sorry, ordered automatic embalming. Keith was embalmed before Mama was even told that her son was dead. Then I was told in 2018 that was policy back then. So what these people don't understand is you can't argue with a smart Black woman who's very resourceful. Okay, well then show me how under the MPIA, Maryland Public Information Act, FYA, show me it was in writing that in 1986 police could release bodies to the funeral home choices of their own, because Keith could have been Jewish, he could have been Muslim. You don't know what the fuck he was. He should have went to the off. Right. Oh, how about there was not one physical copy of said handbook or policy book in Maryland? They supposedly update the books
and burn the others.
And burn the other ones. There's not one electrical heart. I swear to God, not even bullshit. That's what I was told. So then I was told, because a month after Keith died, we found out haphazardly, Detective Beasley went on private property and cut the tree down. Right? The tree that Keith was on. Now, he done closed the case as a suicide, then told us he wasn't going to investigate it, but you going back a month later cutting trees down, right?
So the detective's name is Detective Beasley.
Detective Beasley, yes.
Okay. And do you know where is he alive now? Do you know?
I listen, they done threatened lawsuits a couple times, but yes, he's alive. That Beasley's public information. You can go to the website. Yes, but he's alive. The officer passed away in January, but Beasley's alive. But Beasley went on private property a month after Keith died, after he done told us he wasn't reopening his case. It was closed as a suicide to collect evidence. So again, under the MPIA FOI, I asked for a copy of, where's the information about the tree? Where's pictures of the tree? Where's the diameter? Where's any type of documents that said tree? There is none. So he was trying to get to the branch, right? So what they told me in 2018 was, oh, well, supposedly he was trying to get to the branch to see the rope burns. See, the branch could tell you where the rope was going up or down. So he was trying to get to the branch, which conveniently enough, the branch was destroyed in a warehouse fire. So there's no branch now.
Do you have your own speculation? I know this. We'll keep talking about this disclaimer because it's about Keith Warren. Was he killed by the police?
I don't think he was killed by the police. I think he was killed by those who were associated with the police. I think that maybe, and I've said this publicly, so I don't care. Keith could have been the Manuel. He was never in trouble though. He was never in trouble. He was never arrested. He didn't have a record. He was a black white boy though, and I've just now realized people don't understand what I say when I say that. I didn't even dawn on me if you don't know what I'm saying when I say that.
I
My
was
brother,
called that growing up anyway, so I know exactly what
you
you
know,
mean.
but some people are really confused by that term. Well,
But you're going to have to explain it for the other people.
Right. For those who are not familiar, he was a black boy and all of his friends were white. Now, my friends were all black. His friends didn't like me. I didn't care for them, and it was okay. And I still don't like the motherfuckers. They see me today, they probably will cross the street, but it's all right. I don't care. So I think that maybe Keith got involved in something over his head, and he was collateral damage. And somehow, some way, maybe an accident happened, and I'm using air quotes, and they called their friends, and their friends came and cleaned it up for them.
And Keith Warren was the cleanup.
I think he was collateral damage to something. I think maybe there may have been an accident. There may have been I don't know. I feel like.
So here's a real strong question. The friends that Keith had at the time, are they participating in the action, the fight?
No, they threatened to sue you if you mention their names.
Okay, so that throws a problem in its own way, right? That kind of, because my friends will listen to my podcast, and people I've grown up with, the black white guy that people have known, and if my friends who I've known my whole life, who I've always been around, and I got hung, if they didn't come forward to help, that seems to be like a problem.
Oh no, they started from day one. See, this is how I know they know something, and I'm not gonna call anybody out because again, I get sued or threatened for lawsuit. So, but Keith left the house on a Tuesday. My mom saw him walk out the door. He had his duffel bag full of tapes. He had on his brown construction boots, a blue hoodie jacket, shorts, and a white beater t-shirt. She saw him walk out the house. During the time he was missing from Tuesday, he didn't come home Tuesday night. Wednesday, she started calling around. Nobody knew where he was except for one who we thought was his best friend. This person told my mom Wednesday, I know where he is. I'll find him when he's found on Thursday. But this person said individual will lawyer up and threaten to sue you if you mention his name and associate with Keith Warren. But prior to Tuesday, because I was in New Jersey, I was visiting my mom's sister. I was with my aunt. So I wasn't here. But when I was home though, because this was summer, this was July, right? June, May, June, like they were always in my house, on my phone, in my refrigerator, on my floor. Like I would tell them to go. Like, don't y'all got somewhere to go? Like, why are you here? Right? During them 2 days he was missing, nobody called or came by. Nobody came looking for him, which was weird, right? And so I always told, and I used to say, unfortunately, you know how they say sometimes the tongue speaks prophecies. I used to tell them, I said, the white boys are gonna get you. The white boys are gonna be deaf. You keep fucking with them, they're gonna get you. But who am I? But the bigger picture for me is not so much his friends, it's the justice system in Maryland. Because what I want Maryland and those in office and those who we are voted into position that are supposed to be there to help us to understand, Keith Warren is not an isolated case. It's just a case that has my mouth on it, right? That's it. There's a whole bunch of other Keith Warrens out there, and you're gonna have to at some point acknowledge and recognize that you gotta fix it, but you can't fix a problem that you continue to have. Like this is how sideways and shady they are, right? Because I know they're gonna probably hear this and see this, and I don't care. I'm gonna tell you how sideways they are. There were these two, and okay, let me say this. My sympathies go out to the Lyon family, so I'm trying to be nice. But there's two little white girls that went missing in 1976 in Montgomery County, Maryland. They're called the Lyon sisters. You can look them up. So they go missing from a mall. They were kidnapped. Okay. Their bodies were never found. There was really no evidence to close this case. How about in 2020, the Montgomery County Police Department closed that case. They used resources, man hours, and money to close a case with no evidence. I'm giving you evidence of a black man on a tree in 86, and you won't even talk to me. And as a matter of fact, this is when they stopped talking to me, by the way. Your audience, sorry if I'm too much, but I am. It is what it is.
It's okay. It's okay. You can be all what you need to be.
In 2018, Chief Manger, who's now the chief, Capital City chief for them, he said to me in an email, I'm going to skip through a lot, that I was badgering about, reopening this case because I showed them from their documentation that the detective used information from a third-party source, unknown, unidentified, unrelated person to justify Keith's death as suicide at the scene. So at that point, you should reclassify this case. That's it, right? So Jones sends me an email back and says the case has been reclassified. Okay, fine. So then I'm starting to hit him. Okay, so when was it reclassified? I'm sorry, when was it reopened? Why did you reopen it? He doesn't, he puts two detectives on the email, right? One detective whom I've had a back and forth with, who stopped talking to me, decides that he's going to jump on the email and take Manger off the email, right? So it's just me and the other detective, and says, Miss Warren, the chief was incorrect. The case was not reopened. So then the other detective jumps into the conversation, not realizing he has replied all, right? And said, that's not something to the effect of, that's what I was talking about yesterday. This is going to cause a shitstorm. So then of course, me being a smart ass that I am, I responded back, hi, still here. This is going online. Thanks. So they stopped talking to me after that. But this was in 2018. So you have two current detectives that are having an online conversation with me, right? That I mistakenly get put into, that are referring to Keith's case as a shitstorm, and you still see no problem with this? I have Doug Gansler, who was a former state's attorney, former attorney general, on camera, stating that this case should be reclassified to at least undetermined. And the current state's attorney won't even call me back. No, I'm gonna run up on him in a minute. I'm gonna catch him. I'm gonna do that little white girl. I'm gonna catch him outside. But it's gonna come. But
he's a nasty little person.
Oh, I'm glad. I ain't even met him. Now he won't even talk. He will not call me back. He had one of his assistant state's attorneys call me and tell me basically that I need to get counseling and get over it. Yeah, he told me.
See what I mean? He's a nasty little individual, and he is backed by developers. He has had personal vendettas against people in Montgomery County. He has locked up people, or has stated in court, I will make sure I get you. Now, I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but when a state's attorney says, I'm going to get you, it kind of sounds unhealthy to be a state's attorney.
But this is the justice system in Maryland that they don't see anything wrong with.
No, because the same majority of white people keep voting it back in because it's good for them.
You know what? I'm not going to say it's good for them. I'm going to say, well, it could be, but also could be that, because in this past election, looking at reading a lot of stuff online, a lot of the older white 60-plus-year-olds that live in Montgomery County, they're not internet savvy, right? Right. They follow the lead. They really don't research, and they stick to what they know. Yeah. And they're scared of change. Yeah. And so, not giving them a pass or excuse, but I've found out that when you inform those type of people or expose them to a new thing, their thinking tends to change. Hence is why Elridge almost did not get back in. Like he always get back in, but he's been consistent, and his I'm gonna use fan base because I can't think of anything else, but his fan base they don't want to try change. And most of us, change is a lot of work. Think about it. Change and expose yourself to new things, that's a lot of work. And if it's an uncomfortable thing, most people don't want to go through that part. They got too much other stuff to be worried about. That's not one thing they want to worry about. So
how can whoever hears this, whenever they hears, you have the information, the understanding is appalling. What can people help you with?
How to get a meeting with the Secretary of Health. Because in 2002, my mother wrote a petition to Dr. Fowler. And everybody should know who Dr. Fowler is. Dr. Fowler was that medical examiner who got up on the stand at the George Floyd case and had the audacity to say, Dr. Fowler was also the Maryland medical examiner, chief medical examiner back in 2002. And he didn't even acknowledge this case. So I've since come to find out, because the other part to my story is I'm learning as I go. I don't know the system. I don't really know the process. I just know how to run my mouth and I know how to fight. That's all I know how to do. But there's processes to the situation. And I was told that the Secretary of Health oversees the medical examiner's office. So the Maryland medical examiner's office is in a shithole right now. Like, it's bad from what I'm reading about. I have not petitioned them yet. Well, actually, yes, I did. So I'm sorry, let me go back. Up until this year, I was not told by Montgomery County that I had to go talk to the medical examiner's office. So my many meetings with Chief Jones, which was like 3 or 4, he never said to me, you have to talk to, we can't control the medical examiner's office. We don't know, we don't control them. So you need to go talk to them. So
You probably wouldn't anyway. You probably wouldn't anyway.
Well, it's the funny part. So they got it on camera because I said, because he told the production people for the docuseries Uprooted, oh, well, I can't do nothing for her. She's got to call the medical examiner's office. Okay, so you tell me what to do. I'm going to do it, right?
Right.
So that's what I do. I pick a phone, call the medical examiner's office, and you see me on camera because we can't play the audio because you can't record people without their knowledge in Maryland. All you see me do is this is because of the medical, they were very nice, by the way. They said to me, we need the police to call us. We can't just activate this case without their participation. And I said, well, they sent me to you. So now I'm on this ping pong table, right? So then I was told, because the chief medical examiner, literally, we were going to call him. The docuseries came out on Tuesday. Me and another person that was participating in the documentary was going to go see, because they had a relationship with them. We're going to go see him on Friday. He quit. On Friday, the chief, so there's a temporary person in position now. So I was told that person is probably not going to make any life determining decisions because they're temporary. So
right, they can't.
They're not going to. So I need to talk to the Secretary of Health, who oversees the medical examiner's office, as well as have a hearing in front of a judge. So anybody knows the justice system in Maryland and wants to help me out, because I'm not going away, but that's what I was told. Because my simple ask is this.
And hold on, before you finish, the judge you're going to see in Montgomery County is not going to do anything. We know those judges well, and they lock up a lot of Black boys.
See, you're telling me something new. See, I didn't even know that part.
They do. They lock up the most in the state.
That's unfortunate.
So it's like we've been trying to replace these judges who are the good old boys network, along with some friends and friends, if that's how they get in there. And we've been talking about this on our show, You Be the Judge, with Marilyn Pierre, who ran for Circuit Court Judge, and Judge Gloria Barbara. I mean, the judge issues in Montgomery County is got issues. I mean, the justice system's got issues, as you say, because it isn't for justice. And then you have a judge issue that's been going on for decades.
Well, see, here's the sad part, and I hope your listeners get this part. The judicial system anywhere banks on the fact that we're not going to educate ourselves.
Correct.
We're not going to learn the system. We're not going to know, or they're going to tire us out to the point where you know what? Okay, I'm over it. I'm done. I'm moving on. It wants to deflate you. It wants to take that drive up out of you. So one of the main things that because I started a foundation called the Keith Warren Justice Foundation, and that's .org, that's 501c3. I use that to help other people understand the judicial system. Now I can't do no open cases. I mainly deal with closed cases and or cold cases, but I give people an opportunity to sit in front of a lawyer for like 2 hours, explain their case. The lawyer can tell them you can go this direction or you can go that direction or just let it go, right? My mom was not afforded that back in 1986. They used her lack of education of the justice system, her lack of understanding how to work the laws, because she didn't know she had 3 years to follow statute of limitations to file a civil rights lawsuit against the state, because nobody in the state would take the case, because why? Everybody was scared of the police department, right? So she had to go out to DC to get a lawyer who intentionally, and I just found the documents. I'm gonna do a whole video about that, because by the way, I got a TikTok, but it's called Justice for Keith. I'm posting videos about this case and using documents to back up my claim. But I found in her documents, the lawyer intentionally filed the case 3 years and 5 months after the statute of limitations. And of course, that was her only legal recourse, right? Now, she took him to the DC Bar Association. They did whatever to him, but that doesn't help us.
No, it doesn't help you.
So to your point, though, going back, we have to, I said this on one of our calls, because we're on our group call that we do every Monday. You have to know who you're voting for, and you got to vote in people that's going to really get in there and fight for you, and not just say that they're there to get a check. And that comes from reading and understanding and doing your research. But unfortunately,
but the people that can support us, that look like us, don't read.
No.
Okay. So I'm glad you're doing TikTok, because that's probably about the shortest of their brainwaves, it seemed like, especially the
attention span.
Right. Because we want people to be informed to be involved. Like when George Floyd got killed and all that happened, more people were more reactionary than informed. You've been trying to inform people about your brother Keith Warren and the hanging and the murder that took place in Montgomery County, Maryland. And even the people that supposed to support you, who look like us, who we are around, don't get involved. That troubles me.
So you have to also, we have to respect people where they are.
Okay.
And I've learned that because, again, I told you I've gone through these stages in this struggle. And I have to respect people and their opinions and how they live. Okay, because at the end of the day, I'm not putting no food on your plate. I'm not paying your electric bill. I can tell you what it is, but it's up to you whether or not. And I can't be mad if you don't want. I can be disappointed, but I'm not going to be mad. But in the same, on that same line of thought, don't come to me crying about, oh, well, my cousin got locked up unfairly because of da 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 da. Well, motherfucker, did you vote? No. Remember, you said you weren't gonna vote because you didn't have time or you didn't feel like your vote counted. Well, that's why your vote. Well, I guess your vote gonna count now because the judge who locked your cousin up. Oh, well, he is the one who got voted in. Did you know that part? No, because why? You didn't want to be bothered in, but now all of a sudden you want to be bothered. I literally had this conversation. So what you want me to do?
Right. Because that's the circle. That's the complete circle, right? It's like the people who are leasing these cars and pretending to be what they want to pretend to be, and they're not doing what they can do for our community or for the community or for humanity. Pick one of the three. Because we need you to be informed to do. What's your next step?
That's my next. Well, so I don't know if I should mention the group that we're in, but
yeah,
the African American Leadership Caucus. I think I'm saying it right.
Well, it's actually the Caucus of African American Leaders of Maryland.
Now, Mr. Carl Snowden has opened a door for me, which has not been open because it was interesting. And I don't want to speak ill because, they may or I may get the help I'm asking for, so be very careful with this. But he got me into a door that I've been knocking on with the state legislators level. And I'm going to see how this is going to work for me. So, and I'm just going to continue to talk about Keith's story because the one thing I do know is Detective Beasley wanted to create this narrative that he was allowed to do by Montgomery County Police Department and every administration since then and now about how Keith got on this tree. And if, again, I've done nothing else, I've exposed that lie, that deceit, and that deception in the county on that level of police and leadership that you can't put your head in the sand anymore and say you didn't know. You can't say, oh, how did this get biased? Nah, because what I do when I tweet, because I tweet about my brother too. So, I do that. I'll be on Twitter. I tag everybody I can, from Brian Frost to McCarthy to Elridge, you name them, I tag them, right? Will Smith, you name Jamie Raskin. Y'all not gonna say, but interestingly enough, and this is so disappointing. I'm not gonna say the person's name, but I have been trying to get to the one county person, and I had emailed the email the person has on their website to contact them, right?
Right.
So I just happen to be at the Congressional Black Caucus, and if everybody sees my personality now, there's no shame. I don't care. I have zero fucks. The only person I care about is my grandmama and Jesus. That's all I care about. So I happen to see that person. Never met him. Rolled up on him. How you doing? And I have these masks that say Keith Warren Life Mattered. I made them, right? I said, yeah, I'm Sherri Warren. I've been trying to get to you. Long story short, do you know this person said to me, well, which email did you hit me? Well, that's the incorrect email. I'm looking at him like,
well, yeah.
But that's the one you got for public information. You know what,
public
Sherri?
information.
So my counterpart in the Southwest, she's in my ear. She's like, shut up, be nice. I was like, ooh. I said, okay, no worries. I said, which email works? Because at the end of the day, if you're in a public office and you have an email where people are supposed to be able to reach out to you and you are supposed to respond to, somebody should be monitoring that inbox. I don't understand. Like, that doesn't work for me. Like, if I'm going to, and I'm not saying I want to run for any type of public official office, but if I'm gonna run for one, I'm gonna make sure I work for the people.
But but they don't work for the people. That's why they have emails that doesn't work. And how many people we question their emails or how many people reach out to them for something, right?
Yeah. But that's why you're in public office, though.
That's right.
If you wanted to work your 9 to 5, that's your business. But you chose to be in public office. And the checks and balances in this state are so unbalanced, it's ridiculous. Because if you got Brian Frost, who won't even call me back, now I done emailed you, texted you, tweeted you, certified you, and you won't even acknowledge me. You got the state's attorney who won't even call me back. Where's the checks and balances to the judicial system? So now you've got these cops running around, and let me tell you my disclaimer. All cops are not bad, because trust me, if some shit happened in my house, I'm calling 911. However, in direct relation to Keith Warren and what happened to my brother, there's a problem. And that system is broken in Montgomery County, and it's not going to go away. I'm going to keep talking as long as I got breath in my body and I can get on the internet.
Well, Sherri, thank you so much. We're going to do this again, and we'll keep update with you. And I know that everyone who has any other questions is going to make sure they contact you and contact me, and we'll get it out there. But here's the thing, people, and thank you for listening to Bridges Live. Thank you, Ms. Sherri Warren, for coming on. I want people to really take heed to the justice system that Ms. Sherri just really pointed out. Whether you understand what happened to her brother Keith, whether you believe it was wrong or nefarious, whatever, there's a process that has not taken place, and it has been dreadfully unfair. And it sickens me that this is a story that is going to be repeated over and over since Reconstruction. right? Hanging of Black people, killing of Black people, and no one caring enough to do anything to see the justice. That's all. Anything you want to say before we take off?
No, thank you for giving me this platform. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. Thank you for your listeners for for listening. And if you want to find me again, all you gotta do is Google Keith Warren. You can find me.
Thanks, Ms. Sherri. Everyone
Thank
have a
you.
everyone have a blessed evening, blessed day, blessed life. Be kind, be compassionate, and be purposeful in all of your intentions of what you do, because we need you to be more purposeful, intentional of bettering our human race. If not, we suffer as a collective group, and more people suffer more than others. Let's stop the suffering and do something. Thank you.